Today, Superman, Batman, and Robin are outnumbered but not outsmarted when they change the plans of the mysterious Secret Four. Next, those outer space wonder twins and Gleek point out the error of jumping to conclusions as they tackle a tiger on the loose. Then, the Super Friends combine their superheroics in an all-out conflict with the evil scientist Decoder and the mysterious time creatures. And finally, Wonder Woman and special guest star Apache Chief fly halfway around the world to save a community from a giant cobra. We'll continue with the all-new Super Friends Hour in just a moment.
Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to another Battle of the Network shows and another Battle of the Network shows sellout show. We're going to be talking about the Super Friends to coincide with the Justice League movie in hopes that it will draw many, many more people to come listen to our fun show the way we hoped it would with Wonder Woman.
And maybe our podcast will drive people to the Justice League movie.
It could be. I don't know if that's our intention, but...
yeah, happy coincidence.
Yeah. Because I'm sure the movie will be as fun and cheerful as a Super Friends TV show.
Of course.
Include many morals and crafting lessons and
I hope
more.
So. If it doesn't, I'll be registering my displeasure on social media within hours of the film's premiere.
Right. So we're going to be talking about an episode from the all-new Super Friends Hour, which was the, I guess, second iteration of the show in 1977. But it went through a number of sort of variations during its time. This is not from the Challenge of the Super Friends era, which surprised me that happened after these episodes.
Yes.
And that's the era, of people who know, of course, is probably most beloved by, I think, comic book fans because it had more recognizable supervillains and the Legion of Doom and their cool spaceship thing that they lived in, or at least hung out in, and seemed a little more authentic, I guess, to the source material than some of these other eras.
Yeah, it was a little bit more intense too, a little bit just more mature, more action-oriented, I guess, than some of the other versions.
And had a lot of cool characters like Bizarro and Gorilla Grodd. And
just the name Challenge of the Super Friends is pretty awesome, too.
Yeah. Is this the era that introduced the Wonder Twins?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, originally, the beginning of Super Friends had Marvin and Wendy, who were just two teenage sidekicks that didn't have any superpowers and were kind of lame.
Yeah. Capes attached to their sweatshirts.
Yeah.
They had a dog, too, right?
Yeah, because apparently, superheroes weren't accessible enough.
Yes, children they always need a child or a foolish character to understand what's going on.
Yeah, otherwise they just can't get into it, apparently.
That's right. So, yeah, here we have the Wonder Twins, Zan and Jana?
Yes, Zan and Jana.
And their space monkey. Very important that it's a space monkey.
Yes.
Gleek.
Not a normal monkey.
No.
And Zan, of course, can turn into anything water-based. Mm-hmm. Jana can turn into any animal.
Yeah.
And that covers a lot of ground.
It does.
Any animal.
Put their fists together and say Wonder Twins powers activate. Apparently they need to be together in order to do that, though.
Right.
It's an interesting thing. Because actually in one of these segments, one of them leaves and the other one apparently is... Zan is apparently an ice ladder for, I don't know, hours.
Yeah. Right.
So, anyway, and these also have various PSAs and crafting segments in between, and then the like a word puzzle thing, and then 4 short stories over the course of about an hour.
Yeah. Usually I think they got a big story that's usually maybe a little bit longer than the others, that has like maybe the whole cast of the Super Friends.
Right. And
which
then,
at this time was
go ahead.
Superman, the Man of Steel, Batman and Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman.
Yeah.
And that's the core.
Yes.
And I think that Aquaman, his whole presence in the DC universe, his whole status is based on him being chosen for the Super Friends.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty much what he can hang his hat on, I think, right?
Yeah, I also feel like the attitude of him being a dumb character kind of comes from Super Friends. So, because technically he's only useful in certain situations.
Yeah.
Those involving water. And the rest of the time, he's just a guy. I
mean, as far as like DC, like heroes are concerned, even the Justice League. I mean, Flash, Green Lantern.
Yeah.
There's arguably they should have been in there before Aquaman.
Right. And he was an original like JLA member though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was,
but so was like Martian Manhunter or something.
Yeah. And then Green Arrow joined not too long after.
Yeah.
The core one. So.
Right.
So even like Hawkman or somebody, and many of these people we're naming, they do appear throughout the Super Friends versions.
Yeah, like the last segment, I guess, was always reserved for a guest star.
Yeah, special guest star.
Right.
Which is funny.
Some of those were from the comics. So Hawkman and Hawkgirl were paired together. Flash and Green Lantern were both, and Atom were all from the comics. And then there were a few sort of diversity choices, I guess. Apache Chief, who we'll be talking about, Samurai, and Black Vulcan, who is a black guy with lightning powers, much like Black Lightning from the comics, and yet not Black Lightning from the comics.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly an issue of avoiding paying someone some money.
Yeah. And those 3 characters, the non-comic based ones, are actually maybe some of the more fondly remembered, I would say.
Yeah, they all have kind of cool powers.
Because when people think about the fun of Super Friends, they'll mention people like Apache Chief because they seem kind of cheesy and contrived.
Right.
But I never had a real problem with them.
Yeah.
But me personally, I'd get more excited when like Flash or Green Lantern would show up.
Right. I do remember like it being like a crapshoot, like. I didn't know it was this organized thing, but, is this going to be the week Green Lantern finally shows up?
Yeah, that was kind of the appeal of it, was seeing the different characters. I always enjoyed that.
Right. I was watching your DVD, a couple of the bonus features, and they had a little segment. It was about the guest stars, but they didn't address the 3 non-comics ones. But they showed some clips of Green Lantern. I didn't remember this, but, like, the usual way of his ring working is, like, what it creates is still green, right? Like a green baseball bat or whatever. But the clips they were showing, and maybe it was only in some versions, like he would make a boat and like it'd be a real boat with like a person on it operating it or whatever. I'm like, well, he's just making something appear.
Yeah.
He's not creating something. And they were pointing out that his character really on the cartoon didn't have a lot of the elements of the comics character. Like there just wasn't time to build up this idea of him having willpower.
Right, and there really wasn't, and also, which some people argued about the early days of the Justice League, but the characters were kind of interchangeable. There wasn't really much room for personality or characterization in these ones either.
Yeah, and of course the challenge of the Super Friends, you got all of those guys more often, which was is part of why that's sort of more fondly remembered, I guess.
Yeah, and then later on they made they launched the Superpowers toy line, and they had like a series tied to that.
Yeah.
And for me, I was someone that grew up reading Justice League comic books, and Justice League always had at any given time like 7 or 8 people maybe at least on their active roster, and they would always have these crossovers with the Justice Society. They'd have guest stars and cool villains all the time. So for me, don't get me wrong, I watch Super Friends all the time, but I always thought that was pretty limiting, and I was kind of irritated that they kept it to that that sort of core group of Super Friends, because I thought...
Right.
And I never liked Zan and Jana, so to me, I was like, hey, get rid of Zan and Jana and put in some cool superheroes in there, would have been my pick.
And they could have... Maybe they did that on the challenge. like a lot of the Justice League comics were arranged like different squads would kind of split up, right?
Yeah.
And so you'd have this big story with kind of smaller stories built into it.
Yeah, especially they would have reasons for them to pair off.
Yeah. Now, it is interesting that even now, at least Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are still sort of the go-to for DC, out of the comics properties before they go to anyone else. And somehow Aquaman.
Yeah.
And Cyborg.
Yeah.
Who was like in that last Superpowers iteration of it.
Yeah.
He was like the guy they added. Those characters still have sustained their sort of seat at the top, I guess.
I suspect that Aquaman, if not for his position in Super Friends, Aquaman would not be in this Justice League movie, or this Justice League franchise. Though.
That's interesting.
I think my theory is that it's because of the Super Friends that gave him a little mainstream credibility or mainstream infamy.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Although, now back in the day, like in the 60s when they had like the old like Filmation cartoons.
Yeah.
They did have like a series of Aquaman cartoons.
Or Aquaman.
Yes, Aquaman. But they also had, Hawkman and the Atom and the Flash.
Right, yeah.
So Aquaman wasn't alone in there. So yeah, and it's unusual that the first Super Friends was 1973, and I wasn't watching Super Friends when they had the Wendy and Marvin ones, and I think I knew them more from like the Super Friends comic book and maybe some reruns after the fact.
Yeah.
But for me, I grew up pretty much with Zane and Jana, and I remember these episodes, seeing them in reruns, and this is the version with like the safety tips and the health tips. Those are the ones that I really remember. I mean, this version of the show.
Right, and clearly, like I remember watching it on a Saturday and in reruns like during the week. But these are the ones I remember the most too, and I'm sure it was like once they were out of the challenge year or whatever that, or 2 years, whatever that was, that they were repeating a lot of these.
Yeah.
In the main ones on Saturday, because a lot of this stuff came back pretty easily. But because the challenge of the Super Friends I mostly remember from syndication.
Yeah, and Super Friends has a long and kind of weird history, and there's been so many different versions of it. They never stuck with one format more than like a year or two. So, and it's been kind of hard to collect it on DVD because there's like, if you put everything together and treat it as one series, I think you'd have something like 120 episodes maybe.
Yeah.
But in order to get all those, you'd have to buy like 15 different DVD sets because they split them into Volume 1, Volume 2, and instead of just having like regular season box sets, they kind of messed around with things. And so I haven't been really happy with the way they handled it on DVD, but I enjoy watching them. I think it's a show I watched when I was a kid because it was superheroes.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they don't hold up well when you compare them to like Justice League Unlimited or something like that. They're still fun. I just don't think you can watch too many of them in a row. Like I wouldn't do a marathon watch of it. Right.
Yeah. But when we were kids, like this was the top of the mountain, I think. Because Marvel had sort of haphazard things, and like until they had Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, didn't have much at all.
Yeah, you had live action TV.
Yeah,
you had like the Incredible Hulk and I guess Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
Superman the movie.
Right, and of course Batman. The TV series Batman was in reruns all the time.
Yeah.
But this was the main way I absorbed DC stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was, reading Marvel more, but you were going to get a bunch of superheroes at the very least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
this was a fixture of my childhood, definitely. Super Friends and all their formats.
Yeah.
But I think I have a particular fondness for this all-new Super Friends hour.
Uh-huh.
Although I wouldn't have remembered until years later that it was called that at the time. But
right.
So, after a 4-year absence, they came back, and this was, season 2, if you will, of Super Friends. All new Super Friends hour, and this particular episode was September 17th, 1977, and ABC was the network of the Super Friends too.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why I remember like a lot of ABC Saturday morning cartoons, is because ABC had the Super Friends.
Yeah, I remember like near the end of it, they kind of started moving it around.
Yeah.
And it ended up in that sort of almost a noon
Yeah.
slot and would get preempted a lot, and it didn't make me happy.
Yeah, and it's been weird, like you kind of alluded to. It was reruns all the time, and it was chopped up and moved around, and so many different versions of it in reruns. So
Yeah.
I think now if you looked up the DVDs, you go to Wikipedia and see how they're laid out in order. It's pretty easy to follow. But for years, I think it was pretty confusing to track what the whole deal was with the Super Friends. Should we get into this particular episode?
We should, yeah.
This had four segments: the Secret Four, Tiger on the Loose, the Mysterious Time Creatures, and the Antidote. So, I mean, should we just go in order?
I think so. I think it would be confusing if we didn't.
Yes, it would, I guess.
There's great continuity between all of them.
Yes.
We definitely should make sure if we talk about the Decoder section to talk about that in the proper order.
Yeah, so we begin with the Secret Four, which is, I guess, Superman, Batman, and Robin.
Yes.
You don't...
I think or Aquaman and Wonder Woman, like in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like when they're all looking at the Justice League computer.
Yeah. I mean, there's... So this story revolves around there's an opening of a Metropolis oil refinery, which is interesting. There's always a lot going on in Metropolis, and some group called the Secret Four, they make the refinery disappear.
Right, and then their disembodied heads float above the city.
Yeah, they've got some cool stagecraft. This group, the Secret Four, and they've got an interesting motivation. I think they're trying to force the use of alternative energy sources.
That is what they're okay. I missed that until like Superman said his pithy remark at the end.
Yeah, they actually said that early on. They established that that's what they're trying to do.
Okay.
And I think internally there might be some disagreement over their methods, but they all agree that the goal is they've got to get America off this oil dependence, which is, you could argue it's a decent goal, but
that's certainly very contemporary of that show. I mean,
indeed.
Contemporary of its time, but also now.
Surprising amount of social conscious and ecologic consciousness.
Did Jimmy Carter write the episode?
Yeah, I don't know. The Super Friends get on this, and I mean, one of the notable things I thought was that they took Batman and Robin prisoner. They captured them, the Secret Four, which is a cool name for a group.
That's a good name. Yeah, the Secret Four, by the way, are just they wear hoods.
Yeah, they have
hoods with a
clothes.
mask thing too.
Yeah. They talk and plot in uniform.
Yeah,
even in their secret lair.
Right.
And I guess they know who each other are, but they don't.
I hope so.
Yeah, but they still keep their hoods on and everything. And one thing I liked was that they were smart enough to take the utility belts from Batman and Robin.
It is smart.
Which many villains don't do.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I forget how they captured them, actually. Was that the immobilizer ray?
Yes, I believe that was their...
They had a couple rays.
Well, they can make whole refineries disappear, which is cool.
Yeah,
they also have an immobilizer beam.
Right.
Which they use to good effect.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, the Secret Four are cool, but there's... Again, one thing we should mention maybe is there's not a lot of... I think there was an edict... You couldn't have real violence.
Yeah.
On the Super Friends. And I read an article with one of the story writers who said that it wasn't just violence as far as punching bad guys, but like destroying a wall.
Mm-hmm.
That was like taken out a lot of times because that was considered a violent action. So they didn't really want the Super Friends to do a lot of superheroics.
Yeah. Huh.
So you get like immobilizer beams and things like that as opposed to, bullets.
Yeah.
And sort of like you wouldn't get like the Challenge of the Super Friends, Legion of Doom, you'd get misguided, mad scientists and things like that would be doing things with beams and rays,
right,
moving people around and teleporting them,
as
opposed to actual destruction and terror.
Right, and then I guess in the language even they could say destroy, I'm going to destroy you, or stop you, but they couldn't be too violent in the language even.
Yeah.
Like they weren't going to kill anyone.
Yeah, so it was a pretty, tame version of this stuff. Yeah. Now, as a kid, I didn't really notice that.
No.
It didn't bother me too much. Again, I would have liked to have seen, the real villains.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, maybe some of these threats are kind of lame.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the Secret Four as a villainous group?
Well, they seemed pretty powerful. how did they develop this immobilizer ray?
So
What was the other ray? They used another ray, too.
Well,
I thought they used a different one on Batman and Robin first, and then they used the immobilizer on them later.
Oh, you may be right. I can't remember what ray they used. Did they just make them? Must have done something to the Batmobile. I don't remember offhand, but
No.
there's a lot of unanswered questions with the Secret Four.
Yes.
And one of the things that you're kind of wondering is who are the Secret Four?
Well, that's a big thing. I mean, one of them sounds like Robin a little bit.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's obviously not him because he's
course
there.
not. Yeah.
And he's Robin, yeah.
So there's a reveal. Superman, comes and
He saves the day. So
helps them out, of course. Yeah.
I think the immobilizer beam didn't work on him or something.
And, so of course you pull the hoods off them a la like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And it turns out they're just like wealthy industrialists.
And they were the industrialists at the original oil refinery opening.
Which is pretty neat trick on their part, but...
And a lot of unanswered questions then, even like, wait, so these guys own a oil company or oil refinery, and yet they want to get off oil?
Yeah.
But they feel like this is the only way they can do it?
It seems like there's
But aren't they the people, like in the real world, it seems like the power most resistant to getting off oil are the oil companies.
Right. So you'd think they could do more inside the system rather than doing this outside the system.
Right, which I guess is sort of Superman's little lecture at the end.
Yeah.
And then we have to, we have to all work together to figure this out.
Yeah. Which is a noble sentiment, to be sure.
Yeah.
But
boy, if the guys with the oil company are willing to do it,
yeah, you'd think
why do they need to go?
That's halfway there. Although maybe they've got boards of directors that won't let them do it.
That could be.
That they're these noble CEOs, but they've got these pesky boards that won't let them move in the direction of alternative energy.
Right, and that like Steve Jobs, they don't want to get fired from their own company.
Yeah. I was pretty surprised to hear talk about alternative energy sources in a 1977 cartoon, I'll say that.
And I do wonder if they're already using these alternative energy sources to power all their rays and stuff.
That's another good unanswered question.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were they using to power these? So they've got the willpower, they've got the technology.
Yeah.
What are they waiting for? Well, they are going to be punished for their shenanigans, though.
Of course, yeah.
So maybe after, but they'll probably get a light sentence.
Yeah.
Suspended sentence. Community service.
Yes. Wouldn't good if they showed up in the background of like the safety things.
Yeah.
Like sweeping up at the park or something.
I would like to see that. The Secret Four was a little bit of a letdown. They didn't quite live up to the hype, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like they weren't, and this is a problem with that mini Superman shows, they probably weren't really up to his level.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin, I love Batman, of course, but, they're more in keeping a little bit. I mean, they're evil, well, not evil quite. They're misguided scientists, which seems a little more Superman-y, but, they're just guys.
Yeah.
Which seems a little more Batman.
Right. Superman didn't really need to be involved in this one.
Yeah. And I think, like, Batman and Robin did most of the detective work to find however they found their lair.
Yeah.
The details seem to be escaping.
Well, I mean, this segment was probably, like 7 minutes
Yeah.
long. So, there's not a whole lot of plot in here, but
they might have
just
just,
you can do in 7 minutes.
They might have just used the Justice League computer.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of...
I think it had something to do with, like, I don't know, a lot of electricity got used or something.
Yeah, and another thing, like, not necessarily in this one, but another thing, like, in this, I think, warehouse use. I mean, that seems to be a big one. Like, like, hey, isn't that warehouse, they track a warehouse back to somebody that it happens to be owned by the same people that own so-and-so.
Right. I think that's kind of still in use on superhero shows.
Yeah, I guess that's a classic, huh?
It's a good place to have a fight.
True. Get large spaces that can conveniently be in the middle of nowhere, not attract attention.
Right. Has some weird lighting.
Yeah. So, my favorite part of this whole segment was at the end. Superman unmasks, unhoods everybody, and says that he doesn't want to deal with any more hooded figures. unless
Right.
unless they're his faithful hooded
That's
superhero companions. And he takes Batman and Robin and he pats Batman on
he
the
does.
head. It's like the most condescending move Superman ever did on this show.
Yes,
I think. But they all chuckle.
It seemed like not that I've read a lot of them, but like almost like a Brave and the Bold cover from back when that was a DC Comics series where those three characters teamed up, right?
Or World's Finest.
World's Finest. Sorry,
Yeah.
Brave and the Bold was
World's Finest was Superman, Batman. Brave and the Bold was Batman and
others.
question mark.
Yeah, okay. So World's Finest, yeah. And that was that when that comic was coming out was the era when Superman was kind of condescending anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Batman and Robin kind of laugh it off, but what else could they do?
I don't know.
You know?
This is a very genial Batman.
It is indeed, and they'll do the thing where they throw their heads back and laugh at the end of it. So that was nice, but
Right.
just the pat in the head sealed it for me. I thought that was hilarious.
Right between the ears.
Yeah. That alone makes this worth it. I think that's the highlight of the episode. Even better than the Secret Four.
Right. And then we get our first safety thing, right?
Yes, with Wonder Woman
Wonder Woman, yeah.
providing the safety.
Yeah.
This was about putting things in your mouth.
Yeah, I didn't really learn that lesson as a kid.
No.
I did a lot of chewing on pens and things.
Yeah. And apparently it's bad. It's not a good idea,
Yeah.
Wonder Woman tells us.
Yep. There's a girl chewing on a pen and then a boy chewing on a styrofoam cup.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman puts a stop to that.
And this was before, the big thing about BPE and dangers of
Yeah.
plastics. It was more like, but I think she was saying things could like seep into your system basically.
Something. Yeah.
It wasn't. I thought it was going to be like a choking hazard thing. But
No, yeah, it wasn't.
it wasn't really focused on that. It was more just, it's just not a good idea to put things in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good sentiment. We could talk about like some of the voice talent. Maybe we should do that, a little bit later. I guess.
Yeah.
Stay tuned as the Wonder Twins and Gleek get the jump on jumping to conclusions in this week's adventure, Tiger on the Loose.
So next up was Tiger on the Loose.
Oh boy.
This is the Zane and Jana segment.
Uh,
And we were told at the beginning this was going to be about jumping to conclusions.
Right.
And this segment was a bit of a mess, I think.
Yeah. So a tiger escapes from the zoo.
Yeah.
I liked that. Like the tiger's just just being a tiger in a cage, and it bumps into the little door in the cage, and it opens as
Yeah.
and then it runs out and starts terrorizing people.
Can't really blame the tiger for leaving. Maybe for terrorizing people, but
Yeah, it might be scary. It's not really trying to eat them or anything. Just
yeah.
being a tiger,
Right.
growling and whatnot.
So the tiger's loose, and there's a teen trouble alert
Yeah,
that gets Zane and Jana involved.
because the teen. Yeah,
The
so
tiger's on a bus.
well, the teen trouble alert comes not just because the tiger was escaped, which is just a trouble alert in general,
Right.
but so this girl who works at the zoo,
Susie.
she gets yelled at by the grumpy zoo manager,
Yeah.
who just assumes it's all her fault.
Right. Because she was like, I guess one of the people in charge of
And because she's a teenager.
Yeah.
That's the real lesson.
Yeah, not his.
Which totally threw me, because I assumed it would be directed towards kids not
Right.
assuming things, and it's about an adult assuming things about kids.
Right, just because she's young.
Yeah. She loves this tiger and thinks of it as a pet.
Yeah.
Not a good idea, but...
That seemed like a good idea there. Where's Wonder Woman in this segment?
Yeah, there are a lot of safety things they
Don't put a
don't
tiger's
cover.
paw in your mouth.
Yeah, so that...
Don't put yourself in a tiger's mouth either.
The Wonder Twins get this, the teen trouble alert that the tiger has escaped, and a zoo employee who has run away because she got yelled at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst one, isn't it?
Right.
So here's the thing that gets me. So there's a tiger like terrorizing a school bus.
Yeah.
So Zan and Jana go to Susie's house to find out what's happening.
Right.
Why don't they neutralize the tiger first? They're heroes. They should do some super heroism.
They need Susie to help them.
Well, and now to her credit, Susie can soothe the tiger.
Yes.
But I don't know how far it is to Susie's house, but There's a lot of time to leave a tiger on a bus with a bunch of innocent school children.
It is.
I think that was a huge tactical error that could have backfired on the Wonder Twins. But
yeah, he could have sent Gleek, the space monkey, to get Susie.
That's an excellent point. Yes.
He can't talk, but he's fairly communicative.
Yeah.
And he's a monkey.
Yeah.
And she probably deals with the monkeys at the zoo too. So.
And granted, I think Jana did turn herself into a gazelle.
She
get
did.
them there faster.
That's right. They all rode.
Yeah.
Her.
So, but still, I think it's a little wasteful.
At what point he turned into an ice toboggan?
Yeah, an ice toboggan, which didn't really look like it was made of ice either.
No,
it was like a regular toboggan,
and it had his face.
Yeah, that's right.
And I questioned it, but then in the later thing, he turned into various ice objects.
Yeah,
and I figured, okay, it's just made out of ice, and they did a poor job of making it look icy.
I guess that's what it was, but
yeah.
It was not animated well.
I don't remember what he did with it, though.
I think it was just for, like, transportation. Just to get... yes, yes, Mike's...
I should have watched this episode, again, instead of just from 1977.
Well... It's a long time ago. Well, that's why I'm saying this segment was a bit of a mess. I don't even think it really showcased the Wonder Twins' powers very well.
No.
And like you said, the point about jumping in collisions was a little pat. Yeah, I mean.
And the guy, he just apologized at the end.
Yeah, the guy that actually was responsible for.
Right. The guy that yelled at her.
Oh yeah.
I'll never assume things about teenagers again.
Yeah.
Well, except for their drinking and having sex all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
still go with that one.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So the management at the Jungle World Zoo is questionable to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should have teenage Susie as the chief caretaker, apparently, of this dangerous tiger.
No, and she really, again, takes liberties with her own safety with this tiger. Like she walks on the bus and walks up to it and pets it, and it's a tiger.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen her take more responsibility from the get-go rather than have to be lured back by the Wonder Twins.
Yeah.
Granted, she got yelled at, but
right.
That doesn't mean she couldn't try to help in some capacity.
I don't mean to make assumptions about teenagers.
Please don't.
But she is a teenager. And they do have a reputation for being, sometimes more emotional.
Yeah.
So, it's...
She retreated within herself.
Yeah.
There's poor decision-making all around in this episode.
She needed some space teenagers to kind of make her see the light.
Yeah.
And the threat of children being eaten by her pet.
Yeah. And speaking of pets, what did Gleek do in this? I don't even remember what Gleek did.
The only thing I remember at the end was he was fighting with a gorilla a baby gorilla over bananas.
Yeah, that's...
And I think in the beginning he was stuffing his face with bananas.
Yes, so he started and ended with bananas. That's Gleek for you.
Right. And made a bunch of noise.
Yeah. You didn't even throw feces or anything.
No. Gleek, by the way, so if you don't know Gleek, he is a monkey, like we said. He's blue. He wears a little yellow outfit with a cape. Mm-hmm. Does his tail have like a devil pointy thing on it?
I think it does have a little flourish at the end of it.
And maybe most interesting, he has like a hairdo.
Yes, he does.
Like a darker blue hair that's parted.
Yeah, the part is very distinctive.
Which, there are some monkeys who have kind of distinctive, hair differentiations like that. I'll accept it.
Yeah. I guess Zane has to turn himself into a pair of ice scissors every now and then and give him a trim every
right, yeah.
Every so often.
And, I was a little disappointed that, to me, the classic Wonder Twins thing is he turns himself into a bucket of water and she turns herself into an elephant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good call, I think. Yeah.
But, the ice things are interesting.
Oh.
Potentially interesting.
They show a little bit more imagination.
Yeah. I wonder if they ever get into a thing where they're one of them is super confident about what they're turning into.
Yeah.
And the other one's like,
Right, and it costs them time.
Yeah. And come on, I'm already a bear.
when in doubt, I guess they go. Maybe they got their go-tos, like
Yeah.
a woolly mammoth or something like that. Or,
Right, and why isn't she turning into like space animals?
Yeah. Well, I think she does sometimes.
Okay.
Although maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe her powers only work, based on locality.
Yeah.
So if you're on Earth, you can only be Earth animals.
Right.
If you're in space, maybe you can be something else.
Well, that would make sense.
Like, he's like form of ice cubes, and she's like, or did she say form of? I forget that.
They both do, I think.
Okay. She's like
Yeah.
form of Starro.
Yeah. Yeah. Zan and Gina, I guess they were there for the younger set, but for me, their segments were not the highlight of the Super Friends for me.
No.
Especially when it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
Because, they're dealing with other teenagers and other kids. It's like, give me the grown-ups.
Yeah. That's like
That's fine.
5 minutes you don't get superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tiger on the Loose, not the highlight of the episode, but Zan and Jaina fans, you get your fix of them in that segment.
And did we get, or what was the interstitial after that?
Batman and Robin appear in the part 1 of the Decoder segment.
Okay.
The Decoder segment was always a hoot.
Yeah. But when did the craft things happen?
That comes later.
Okay.
That comes later. That's I think it's in the second half. The second half out.
Okay.
So the Decoder segment was you'd try to find some secret word using
Right.
sometimes pretty contrived clues.
All right. It has something to do with the segment you're about to see.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe you can tell us part 1 of the decoder so people can play along. I don't know did you write them down?
I know what the word is. But
I know what the first clue they show. Maybe they're even doing the presentation.
Yes, well, they don't say what it is, but it's like a
like Olympic kind of.
Yeah.
Athletic competition. There's gold, silver, bronze.
Yeah.
Of these things.
Right.
But only the first 4 letters.
There are 3 letters, I think, right?
Oh, no, 4.
4?
Oh, no, that's right, 3.
Yeah.
Even though the last 2 are actually in the word.
Right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
We'll get to this, but this makes no sense to me why they did this that way. Okay, because you see, so basically the clue is, they specifically say take the first 3 letters of what they're getting.
Yeah.
And then you get med, M-E-D. Mm-hmm. Okay, to me, maybe you could use it like an ambulance or something, or a hospital for that segment.
Right.
That would make more sense. But we'll find out when we get to part 2 what the actual secret word is. I hope you stay tuned for that, folks.
Right.
Because it's a barn burner.
This is more complicated than the puzzler on Car Talk.
Yes.
Be with us as the Super Friends have their hands full against the evil schemes of the villainous scientist Decoder and the mysterious time creatures.
So after that short segment, we go to mysterious time creatures, which takes us to deep space.
Yes.
Which is good for you folks that like the more cosmic adventures of the Justice League and the Super Friends. This is it, right?
Right.
This is a Jim Starlin Ruddy special. Go to Planet Chrono, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And,
not Planet Chronot, but Planet Chrono.
Chrono. And the leaders of Chrono are in session, and there's an interesting plot here. They've got, we're talking about Chronium and Decoder, I believe is the main bad guy.
Decoder, the obvious, again, I'm making assumptions, but he seems pretty evil. It seems like the other Chronons or whatever might have his number.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a pointy beard. He looks like Ming the Merciless.
Oh, yeah. Good call.
And he's talking about using their time things to take over the universe or something. And his name is Decoder.
Yes.
It just seems like he's up to no good.
Yeah, a guy has a chip on his shoulder since birth, probably.
Yeah. And their leader, their president, looks like Kurt Vonnegut.
Yeah.
Or Gene Shalit, whoever you want to.
Yeah.
Someone with a lot of curly hair and a mustache.
Yeah, Calmo, I believe.
Calmo or Calmos or
yeah.
something. I never quite got his. he obviously doesn't want to use this, and he has the special medallion that has the time stuff in it, and that's where they basically are only using this time power to keep themselves young. Like, it doesn't seem like they do anything else with it.
No, they again, they're not very forward-thinking or imaginative.
Yeah.
But they are imaginative enough to, I guess, basically have an attack force of UFOs.
They do, yeah, that's true. Dictor, they vote down Dictor, but he's obviously got regular citizenry on his side.
Yeah, he's got some kind of militia, kind of space militia.
And it's a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And he steals the medallion and turns Como old.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess the plot is to turn everyone old.
Yeah, like he's gonna, the entire universe or something.
Yeah. To what end, I don't really know. But that's what he wants to do.
Yeah. Como escapes through like a tube in his ceiling that puts him in a rocket, and he heads for Earth.
Right. With
the other guys in close pursuit. And he sends a distress message that the Justice League picks up, I think.
Yeah. And there's an undersea lab, which means Aquaman has something to do.
Briefly, yes, his Aqualab.
Yes.
Yeah. This one, a lot of fascinating geography going on in this. Not only did the speed with the rocket ships get to Earth, but the Aqualab seems very close to Metropolis, which is conceivable.
Yeah.
And it is Metropolis. Did they actually say it's Metropolis?
In this one, I don't know if they did. But
okay. Let's assume.
The first segment.
Yeah, okay. So the Hall of Justice is somewhere.
Yeah. I think it is in.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I think has stood the test of time from this. I don't know. Was that in the comics too?
The Hall of Justice?
Yeah.
I think that guy. The Justice League, first of all, had. I don't know if they called it the Hall of Justice until the Super Friends.
Yeah, we're thinking like a cave or something.
Yeah.
A satellite later.
And then around the time I think this was airing, the comic books, they were in the satellite in outer space.
Yeah.
It's kind of the version I grew up with.
Yeah, the Hall of Justice, it's a pretty cool design. You know, it's been referenced other places.
Yes.
And so they're there, and they find out about this guy and all of that.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. The end. No.
Aquaman saves Como, but the big thing at the end of this segment.
Yeah.
Because this is in two parts.
Right. This is a big, complicated story.
Is Dictor turns all the heroes to kids.
Yes.
He turns them young.
Right.
Like really young and
yeah.
To I guess toddlers.
Well, three. Three of Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Superman.
Yeah. Because Batman and Robin are still like goofing around.
Yeah, that was totally weird. So there's the undersea lab. Then Dictor's spaceship is under the desert somewhere.
Yeah,
some desert, right? They find out the location. Superman. I guess Superman. I got really confused. Superman and Wonder Woman are flying there?
Yeah, they're using air.
Yeah. I don't remember how Aquaman got there, but he got there.
Yeah, he's using sea.
Yeah. And Batman and Robin are driving the Batmobile underground.
Yes, into the earth, apparently.
Right. The tunnels that just, go from Metropolis to the desert.
Yeah, the elaborate... I think the Eisenhower administration built all these tunnels that dug into the earth, right?
Yeah. And then Superman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman get captured. The Wonder Twins are with them, too. Somewhere.
Yeah, and the Wonder Twins screw up. They kind of help them get caught, I think.
Yeah, that's how, Como almost got caught. They get caught, but Dictor escapes and goes back to the Hall of Justice.
Yes.
And then, the order of this stuff is...
Well, I think we're about to the point of the Decoder Part 2.
Okay, let's break for the Decoder Part 2.
So, Decoder Part 2, we see Batman and Robin just walking down the street, I guess.
Yeah.
And they see a kid that's got a shirt with his name on it.
Yeah.
Al. And he's doing something.
Yeah. He's yawning.
He's yawning.
Right.
So if you take his name, if you take what's on his shirt and what he's doing, you get the next two parts of the secret of the word.
Right.
Al, yawn.
Med, al, yawn. Gee, Batman, I still, this is still a tough one.
Yes. Put them together. Medallion.
Right.
Which was the object that they were giving out in the first segment.
Right.
They really could have put that together better, I think.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, this is not atypical of how they did these Decoder segments. They always had some kind of like clunky thing like that, but they didn't usually screw up by putting the actual word somewhere in that first segment, so you could see that. Yeah, that was weird.
It was.
That was one of the weaker Decoder segments.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, congratulations to those of you that figured it out.
Right.
Good detective work. So, when we rejoin the story, Batman and Robin are trying to figure out what happened to everybody else.
Yeah.
And to me, I think the way they did that was just by pushing buttons on the
Yes, that was just.
That's one heck of a computer.
Yeah. So and Colmo is there working on his the element or whatever to make more of the time stuff.
Yeah.
And this, so what happens is when it happened, I was actually excited because it was actually a very specific thing that I had remembered from Superfriends. So Jana turns into a mouse, and Zan turns into the ice ladder that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, yeah.
Xana climbs up the ice ladder and through like the ventilator in the spaceship, and very quickly, I gotta say, crosses the desert back to the Hall of Justice.
Indeed.
Meanwhile, basically, the super kids can't, one, they're arguing, and two, they can't, their powers just aren't strong enough.
Yeah.
I mean, Aquaman, what powers does he have
right.
in a spaceship in the desert?
Yeah.
Wonder Woman tries to drill a hole with her magic lasso, which, based on other stuff she does with her magic lasso, I'm surprised it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and she uses some hurtful language, the expression "stupid fish." She's bickering with Aquaman. So.
And she's not calling him a stupid fish, right?
No, she's just,
Yeah.
But they're arguing over how to get out of this.
Right.
And Aquaman's,
If we were underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really like a whole Kevin Smith type conversation waiting to happen here, but fortunately they don't drag it out too long.
So anyway, so Mouse Jana runs back to the Hall of Justice and is trying to get Batman and Robin's attention, and they're busy tapping away the computer, and they're like, she hops up on the computer and she's like, "Hey, it's me, it's Jana." Yeah. It's never clear whether they just can't hear her or they don't understand her.
Yeah.
And they're just, "Get away, Mouse."
Yeah, trying to shoot.
And finally, she hits some buttons and, tells them what's going on.
Yeah.
And like, "I can lead you to them, to Dictor," or whatever. Yeah, it does say Dictor on the screen there.
Yeah.
And here's what I remember. They're like, "Okay, let's go." And Batman's like, "I'll just put you in my bat belt mouse compartment."
Yes. Yes.
Which I remember, and I know my brother does too, because we've joked about that for a long time.
That's awesome.
Like, of course. Just in case he needs to put a mouse.
Yeah, that's great.
It could have just been a bat belt compartment.
Yeah.
But no. Bat belt mouse compartment.
Yes. That was more ridiculous than anything that was ever on the TV show, in my opinion. I think that's probably the best.
Yeah.
It's hard to top that as far as the ridiculous specificity of that feature.
Yeah.
That's even better than, bat shark repellent or anything.
I think
bat belt mouse compartment. Yes, yeah. I like that too. That's cool that's when he just happened to be in this episode.
Yes. Now, meanwhile, somehow, maybe Dictor was just eavesdropping or something, but he knows where Colmo is, so he's come to the Hall of Justice. So on the way out, with Colmo with them, Dictor arrives, and, for a show that wasn't violent or anything, he turned Colmo into dust.
Yeah.
He aged him into dust and said, in an hour, his dust will disappear.
Yeah.
So basically, he was dead for most of the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess just the way they worded it was safe. I don't know. And then he came back from the dead, which maybe
I guess that helped, yeah.
is not a good thing to show children.
Yeah.
You can turn old and turn into dust, but
yeah,
if you have the right ray,
Come-
the right medallion, it's all good.
yeah. So all is,
Yeah.
it all turns out well.
Oh, well, yeah.
They trick.
Ooh, yeah. Go ahead.
They trick.
Explain
Well,
this trick. This is a complicated trick.
actually, I think they tricked him a couple times.
Right.
I'm not sure. I don't remember the particulars of how they actually did this. Was it where they used the like a dummy?
Yeah, they're in space when they do that. How do they get into... But they're already adults again when they get into space.
All the superheroes.
Yeah. That first trick, Batman and Robin are standing in front of the kidified
Yes,
Super
because-
Friends. And they're like...
Yes.
And he's firing his beam at them.
So they lure their ray,
Yeah.
and then they basically just get out of the way.
Right. Yeah.
So it reverses it, I guess, on the
Yeah.
because clearly any ray of that nature,
Yes.
if you do it on somebody that's already young, it would naturally age them back
To-
to their normal self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just calibrated in
So
the correct end.
yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking of as far as like their
Yeah.
real big ruse to get the superheroes restored.
Right.
Which it seemed like
And then they still have to break out.
it was kind of a weird thing, let's lure him.
Yeah.
They were taking a lot of chances with that move. But
Right.
I can't argue with the results.
Yeah. So, but then he escapes into space,
Dictor. Yeah.
Dictor, and they chase him with the invisible jet, and Superman's flying. I guess do they have the Bat Rocket or something?
Yeah, they must
or they were in maybe Calmo's ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's the whole ruse. They Batman uses his Bat disguise kit to dress up as Calmo and send out a message that Dictor will see that he's leaving the planet.
Yeah.
That he's fine.
Yeah.
It's young Calmo, too. Or youngish. And then they take Calmo's ship out into space. Dictor chases him. And he boards the ship. And then he shoots his ray at this inflatable dummy of Batman. Which was pretty funny, because I thought at first it was an animation error. Like, Batman says something and, like, his mouth doesn't move.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, this is Hanna-Barbera.
Using some
It was
ventriloquism.
Yeah. And it turns out the dummy is full of Calmo's dust. Restores him to life. And he's able to retake his position. But there was also a thing where, like, Wonder Woman lassoed Dictor's ship with the magic lasso.
That's a heck of a feat.
Yeah.
What an odd thing to fill an inflatable Batman dummy with the dust of another individual.
What?
And seal it back up.
Why does he have an inflatable Batman? We probably don't.
Yeah, I guess we don't need to go. Yeah.
And I feel like Aquaman was along for the ride.
Yeah,
And the invisible, he was flying the invisible jet while she was lassoing.
At least he's got some
spaceship.
piloting skills. That's good. But
Yeah.
after the first half, he was a little bit more effective.
Right.
The second half, yeah.
I feel like it would be really dangerous to be Aquaman and be in space.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what his water needs are.
Yeah.
But that was on the show before. Like, Challenge at the Super Friends, they had people like... No, maybe I'm thinking of something else. I think I'm thinking of Submariner on...
Oh, like having to stay in.
It would be like being dehydrated.
Dehydrated, yeah.
Yeah, Aquaman, maybe that's not a...
No, he's always like asking them to stop off at like Neptune or something like that. Or he's gonna, guys, can we maybe stop on Neptune on the way back? No. Ah! Are we there yet? No, Aquaman, we'll get you water when we get back to Earth.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, everything worked out.
It did, yes.
That's the point, right?
They didn't turn everybody old.
No.
And I guess things will be better on planet Chrono.
Yeah, Decoder will be in jail.
Yes. Which is where he belongs. Dadgummit.
Yes.
Well, so that's the end of the Mysterious Time creatures.
Right.
And that leads us to our first craft segment.
Yeah.
And,
Which,
actually, it's the same craft.
It's a two-part.
Yeah, it takes 2 segments to make this elaborate craft.
Yes, and this was, this is not the same kind of memory, but as soon as it showed up, I remembered it.
Okay.
Because I'm sure I saw it 500 times or something.
Yeah, so he's...
Aquaman.
Did they reveal what it is? I guess they don't reveal what it is until the second one.
No, I think they say it's
okay.
some sort of
it's
rattle.
a sun rattler.
A sun rattler, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
You make your own sun rattler with a couple of paper plates. And
yes, you take some paper plates, you draw some fun faces on them.
Mm-hmm.
Which you might not do till the end. I don't.
Yeah, and then you tape them together.
Yeah, you glue.
Yeah, you glue them together.
And you got some beans.
Yeah.
We don't want to reveal everything, though.
Yeah, well...
I don't even know why there were 2.
They didn't need to be. But they're very short. Like these...
Other than drying.
These segments are usually very, very short.
Yeah.
Stay tuned as Wonder Woman and Apache Chief use their special super skills against the venomous giant cobra in The Antidote. Don't go away.
Well, Aquaman has that going.
Yeah.
Started. We go into The Antidote.
Right.
Which is the 4th, Super Friends segment on this one. And it's kind of interesting for a few reasons. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, I remember very little about this compared to the
I sort of remembered
there's cobras, venom, and
it's kind of intense.
Yeah, I guess maybe it is of the 4 because it's like the United Nations is involved, mm-hmm. and it's more like I guess the sense of like real immediate peril is stronger in this one, except for the tiger terrorizing the school children,
right?
But Zane and Jana didn't really seem to think too much of that, so it didn't bother me as much either.
Yeah,
so and it's nice that, you involve India.
Yes.
This is kind of weird. I'm just going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
It's Wonder Woman and the Apache Chief.
Mm-hmm.
The creators of this show realized that Apache Chief, now a Native American, then an Indian, they realized that kind of Indian doesn't come from India, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think more his maybe his tracking abilities were.
Yes.
And they were thinking probably his being able to turn giant.
Yeah, that's a useful thing.
Yeah.
So that's his coolest power. When they introduce Apache Chief, you see them, and magnifying and becoming a giant before your very eyes.
Right.
It's kind of like the cool visual that he has.
Yeah, so those are his things, right? Tracking and turning giant.
Yeah. I think he might have had some kind of like communication power with animals too, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And, Samurai, who's not in this one, he would spin around and make he's kind of like a red tornado.
Yeah, like a sand guy.
Yeah.
Which...
With like wind and, and sandstorm powers, yeah.
Right. I think that may have confused me.
Yeah, and Black Vulcan was, like you said, kind of a black lightning.
Yeah, like I think maybe I didn't know Samurai was Japanese when I was young.
Yeah.
Like I thought he was like from the desert.
Right, like more of like an Arabic kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Aladdin or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, not a whole lot of characterization in these, cartoons. Now, Antidote does have 2 parts. It's not as long as the previous segment, I guess.
Right.
But it's sort of bookend, or they sort of break it up with the craft segment.
So there's an earthquake in an Indian village, a remote Indian village, and for some reason that sets hundreds of cobras on the run, and they come into this town and start attacking people.
What a terrible thing that is, yeah.
It is. It's honestly pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Cobras are bad news.
Yeah, the earthquake's terrifying enough, and then the cobras, and so they get this urgent plea because the India is running out of antidote or antivenom, and of course you get antivenom from the thing the cobra.
Yeah.
And they don't really know how to deal with that. So first, Wonder Woman and Apache Chief bring their handy Justice League supply of antivenom, but that's about the size of a bread box.
Yeah, not enough for this remote Indian village, let alone if this gets out of hand and it's spreading all across.
Luckily, there's an old guy there. Or maybe he's a doctor or something, but he is old. He says, well, if you go into the jungle and find the giant cobra, do you have the giant cobra's name?
It's like Kitaro or...
Yeah, something like
Kitaro, yeah.
Yeah. Then you can milk him
well,
for his venom, and that'll give us plenty.
Yeah.
Even though the giant cobra is a legend.
Yeah.
And he says it that way, it's still clear that, well, that's the solution.
It sounds like a pretty harebrained scheme to me.
It does.
But what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they could go around and like throw out all the snakes, but
right.
For people that have already been bitten, you need this anti-venom.
Yeah.
So I guess they're kind of at the mercy of this spiritualist.
Right. Yeah.
Who knows
like a yogi.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's only one thing to do is go get this giant cobra.
Yeah. Well, luckily they have a jet, an invisible plane to fly over and find it pretty quickly. His temple, at least.
Yeah. Now, the giant cobra was pretty interesting, I guess.
Because he has animal communication powers.
Yeah, I mean,
he sends some other animals to attack them.
Yeah. Now, is it just? I guess he's just an inherently nasty dude, or does he feel threatened?
It seems like he feels threatened.
I mean, you've got. Maybe this is a overly anti-imperialistic point of view on this, but he does have a couple people coming and invading his territory. And he doesn't even know this yet, but well, maybe he does know. Maybe other people have tried to come and milk him before. I'd be a little upset myself.
Yeah. I don't know if that damages a snake. I mean, snakes, it's not like bees.
It takes away his essential fluids.
Well, yeah, that is...
There's something...
Not something you should do without permission.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that they went through proper diplomatic channels anyway. They weren't intending to ask permission, I don't think.
Right. Maybe they would have shown him their Superfriends /UN identification card.
Yeah, I guess they never really had a chance to exchange business cards and greetings. Like, the United Nations. Oh, geez. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Come right in here. Have some cookies. I'll just lay down, get what you need.
What is he? There's some wild boars. I know that was part of it.
Well, that's right, yeah.
The wild boars, and Apache Chief is like, you go try to take care of the cobra, and I'll take care of these wild boars. And he jumps in a tree because he knows charging wild boars is not a good scene.
Yeah.
And then there's a Black Panther there, the animal, not the Marvel character.
Right, that would have been very...
or not the revolutionary.
Correct.
Right. And he basically finds a way to make the Black Panther and chase the wild boars. Or vice versa. Somehow he gets out of the way and they take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's having a bit of a time with the Cobra. Even the magic lassos, kind of.
In retrospect, maybe they would have been better off switching tasks on that one.
Yeah, I think
because she could have used the lasso and the boars, and Apache Chief could have wrangled the being a giant himself.
Yeah, which is what happens. He turns giant. He takes off the roof of the Cobra's temple.
Yeah.
And he puts him in a headlock and milks him.
Yeah, he does, yes.
I don't remember where he got the jar from, but which I guess turned giant with him.
Yeah. That's an interesting facet of his powers. Yeah, apparently anything on his person.
And then maybe if he sets it down, it'll stay giant. And
yeah, because they could fill up that giant jar and take care of the whole subcontinent.
And being a animal lover and everything, he thanks him for his sacrifice.
Well, that's gracious of him. Yes.
And they leave him be, and they put
the
the roof
you
back
will,
on.
Of course, die within 24 hours as a result of losing all your.
No, that's bees. It's not.
Oh yeah, sorry. Props to Wonder Woman. You'd think she would have been the senior person in the field, but Apache Chief seems to be kind of... He seems to be organizing this one.
Right.
Which I think is interesting for a part-timer to be bossing around Wonder Woman like that.
Maybe she just, this is your scene.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm she made that mistake about India and Indians.
Could be, yeah.
This is where you're from, right?
Yeah.
No, Wonder Woman. I'm from Apache country.
Yeah.
You've been there. We've shown you.
For the 13th time. It's totally different.
I know you come from a secluded island.
Yeah.
You don't know everything.
spend a little bit more time on that, the computers in the Hall of Justice, learning more about other cultures, perhaps. But again, it worked out well. I guess they got the job done eventually.
Yeah.
But there's a good thing. Apache Chief was pretty essential in this one.
He was, yeah.
Pretty good showcase for him.
I think so.
He wasn't in all that many episodes this season. I mean, I think I was kind of looking at the descriptions of this and, trying to find, who was in what episode. And again, we kind of remember them because they stood out, being the sort of the created for the show ones. But they kind of made occasional appearances.
Yeah. And it seems like, I don't know how many episodes there were in this season, but so they had the three people we mentioned, and then the Green Lantern, Flash, Hawkgirl, Hawkman, and Rima the Jungle Girl.
Yes.
So that's like 8 different guests.
Yeah, and the Atom.
So that's 9. So they have to break those up among whatever.
Yeah, like 13. There weren't that many.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think this DVD is like Volume 1.
Right.
Season 2, Volume 1 or whatever. And it has, 7 episodes in it? And I think there's 7 and 6.
Wow.
Something like that. So,
okay.
But then I think after this one did very well, I think then they ordered more episodes. Of course, then they'd have like half-hour formats and stuff like that. But,
yeah. Was Adam in the challenge of the Superfriends?
No, actually, or I could be wrong. Maybe it's 20-some episodes in Volume 1. This
13.
is where the Season 1, the split thing is screwing me up.
Right.
So Volume 1 had like 13 episodes, but that was across 2 discs.
Okay. Whoa, no. Volume 1 has 28. Volume 2 has 32.
What? No.
Oh, no, sorry. Episode... sorry.
That's counting
20. That's 28 segments.
Okay, so seven episodes.
7 and 8 on the... Yeah, so...
Okay, so I was right
15, there. Yeah.
So that's pretty...
Right.
So 15. That seems pretty measly, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
For a show that was on... I mean, I wonder if they reran... I guess
For a
maybe
show
they reran the heck out of them.
That was on...
Within the season.
Yeah.
Because, 15 wouldn't even get you to the end of the year. If you
and so... It says that ran, from 77 to 78, and then Challenge was 78 to 79. And then...
But you're looking like fall of 77 and spring of 78.
I think what is it? September 10th, 77 to September 2nd, 1978. So, almost 52 weeks.
It's like
15
episodes. 15 hours that they
15 hours.
Wow.
Maybe they recut them into different...
Maybe.
I don't think so.
I was going to say, I wonder if they mixed in some of the Marvin and Wendy, but I don't think they did. I think they just reran these ones over and over again.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe it's preempted sometimes or something, but...
So, Aquaman finished his Sun Rattler.
Yeah, this is really more important, isn't it?
Yeah, the craft.
Yeah. Yeah. So he puts the beans on a paper plate, puts a little glue, glues the plates together, and waits for them to dry. And they're a rattle, like a musical instrument.
Yippee.
Yeah.
I guess you could hang it up and like a wind chime or something.
Yeah, maybe you could do that.
I think maybe
and he drew these faces, and the faces get animated, like one of them
festive.
Winks at you. He's a good artist.
He is. He is. We should have made our own Sun Rattlers for this episode.
Yeah. Hold on, we'll be back. And
yeah. I question gluing them together, though. I mean, I said tape earlier. I think I was thinking, boy, I would rather tape them, because anytime I did craft projects, glue and paper plates just did not work very well for me.
That doesn't seem like it good.
I'd wind up over gluing them.
Yeah.
You use cheap plates and it's just not going to stay together.
Yeah, I sort of, just the way they looked on screen, I envisioned it as more like the styrofoam plates.
Okay. Now, would glue work as well on those ones? I
don't know. Or maybe they were, what is Coronet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those heavy duty ones.
That seems like the best option, really.
You're right, yeah.
It's dry cardboard.
Yeah, they'd be strong enough to...
Yeah, but your generic paper plate?
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't do it.
Especially that's the super generic white,
Yeah.
With just the little ridges in it.
Yeah. Now, Aquaman, though, he made it look easy, though, so...
Yeah.
Good for him. So that's your craft.
Yeah, now, of course, then he jumps back in the ocean with one of them and it just falls apart.
Right, it just...
Easily
disintegrates.
Right.
Yeah, he's got to learn to stop doing that, but...
Yeah.
So I guess the final part of this episode, I believe, is the health segment.
Can I just mention something?
Sure.
This seems not accurate. Wikipedia says this was developed by Dave Gibbons, Gil Kane, and Alan Moore.
I don't remember hearing that.
These are like comic book legends. I know, like Alex Toth, a famous illustrator.
Yeah, he was
did
involved
designs.
In some of the designs, the character designs.
Some of these other people, but and in 1977, I don't think Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons were even in the American scene.
Yeah,
Gil Kane, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think they were sweating Zan and Jana storylines and.
Yeah. Created by E. Nelson Bridwell, Carmine Infantino, and Julia Shorts. Consultants, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Now E. Nelson Bridwell did the comic book.
Yeah, those are all like comic people.
Yeah, I remember the Super Friends comic was kind of like an all ages thing that I used to get that a lot and really enjoyed that. And that had I think he sort of expanded on the Super Friends universe and kind of gave maybe some backstory and fleshed out some of the details that were not in the cartoon version. So he had a big role probably in all this. But Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons and Gil Kane?
I don't think so.
I don't know about that. Alan Moore, do we have you to blame for Gleek the Space Monkey?
That would be cool.
Yeah. That's like the one thing he's really proud of still.
If they still want to make a Wonder Twins movie.
Yeah, that's the only thing that will lure him back to mainstream work for DC. Is if they give him the rights to the Wonder Twins back.
And then it turns out it was some whole subversive thing.
Right.
Type.
Gosh. Well, I take exception to that credit. Yes.
So at least another safety lesson, I know.
Well, there's a health.
Or health,
yeah. And interestingly, now this is pretty serious. It's about smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Like a kid.
And the message is that smoking cigarettes is bad for you.
Yes.
It's hard to argue with that one.
Right. There's a kid on a baseball team smoking a cigarette, and then he's coughing and wheezing and stuff, and he can't really do his job when he gets to bat.
Doesn't have his wind. It's an unfortunate side effect.
Seems a little anti-Bad News Bears.
Yeah.
Which seem to say smoking and teenagers smoking and drinking and playing baseball all work together well.
Right.
I don't know. And coaches.
Yeah.
And their managers.
And swearing.
Yeah. And then in Superman's, it's not just the smoking bad for you, but it makes you a loser.
Yeah. That seems to be the real message of this. Not so much that it's bad for your health or a cancer risk, but it makes you a loser.
Right.
It's more of a practical appeal to kids. Hey, this is going to screw you up. You're not going to be popular. You're going to be bad at sports.
Right.
Rather than, this will kill you.
And there's nothing like having Superman tell you that.
Smoking makes you a loser.
I this is a lesson, though, I think I learned. I mean, I don't know if this is the thing that made me not smoke, but I certainly took it.
It'd be cool if the thing from the Fantastic Four was the one that made you not smoke.
Yeah. Because I was afraid I would turn into a rock guy.
Yeah.
He smoked cigars.
True. He would have been a poor messenger. Superman is a much better spokesman for the anti-smoking cause.
Right.
His message was a little unorthodox, but
yeah,
the kid really did seem like a loser.
He did. Certainly that day he was.
Yeah, he was not on his game.
Yeah.
Maybe he just was, hadn't slept very well or something.
Right.
I'm not sure if they can have, direct causation. It might just be correlation to his athletic performance.
I wonder about the coaches and parents around who were just letting this kid sit on the bench and to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, maybe they should have said something. If they were really responsible, they would have done the right thing and given the kid chewing tobacco instead of cigarettes.
Yes.
Because at least chew wouldn't have hurt anybody else and bothered everybody else.
Doesn't make you cough.
No.
Consequences really are down the road.
Helps you stay focused on the game. Gives you something to occupy yourself.
Yep.
No, for the record, I do not endorse tobacco products of any kind.
No.
And neither does Superman, for sure.
They make you a loser.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Well, that's the episode. I'd like to talk a little bit about the voice actors.
Okay.
Because these are the people that really grew up for me, or that I grew up listening to them, and their interpretations were kind of definitive for me.
Yeah.
So we had Superman was Danny Dark.
Right.
One of the great voiceover artists of the era.
Yeah.
Many of the promos of the shows we've talked about, he turned up all the time, instantly recognizable.
That's right. He did like CBS work, right?
He did
All of them.
CBS and he did NBC for
Okay.
a while in the early '80s. I think he moved from CBS to NBC. Maybe
Okay.
Not sure the timeline was there, but
And he was
big
Charlie the
network promo
Tuna
guy.
Fish,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
DJ, and
and just a great one of the all-time greats.
yeah.
Batman was Olan Soule, who oddly I've heard it pronounced Soule, but he was in probably just about every TV show of the '60s and '70s. He was in tons of westerns,
Okay.
all over the place, and he was also in some old-time radio shows where it was definitely pronounced Soule in the radio. But so at the time, I think he was older than the other people in the cast. He was probably the oldest person in the cast, and he was Batman for years. And I think he was Batman in the original version of the Super Friends, and later in Super Friends. And I grew up with him, thinking of him as Batman, even probably more than Adam West.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because Adam West, when they did like a Batman cartoon in the late '70s, like the Filmation New Adventures of Batman, I think, then they kind of gave Olan the boot and installed Adam West and
Right, and I believe in that.
Burt Ward.
That final season of Super Friends, they brought in Adam West.
Yeah.
But it says he was Batman from 1968 to 1983.
Yeah, so like in the '60s Batman versions,
Yeah.
that's a heck of a run.
It is. And he was in his 70s. So he was, almost in his 70s. He was born in 1909.
Wow.
So he was almost 70 when this episode aired.
That's amazing. But he has that kind of like you said, the amiable, sort of like a cool dad kind of Batman.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a lighter version of the character. But I mean, for me, that was probably like the voice I heard when I was reading Batman comics a lot of times.
Okay.
And Robin, the Boy Wonder, was of course our old friend Casey Kasem.
Yeah.
Who the Casey's Top 40, much beloved longtime DJ, and also a fixture of NBC promos for years, and commercial work and many cartoons.
Shaggy.
Yeah, that's right.
Scooby-Doo. And was he also the guy that looks like Shaggy on the Josie and the Pussycats cartoon?
I don't remember. I don't know if he was on that or not. But
yeah. But the other thing, Robin, Shaggy, and the Top 40 those are the three top Casey Kasem things. I think.
And Casey Kasem sounds. He and Burt Ward don't. They sound kind of similar. I think, especially when they're doing the holy cow Batman stuff. I mean, Casey Kasem has a good sort of youthful quality to his voice. So
yeah,
Robin was never my favorite character, but I always thought Casey Kasem did a good job.
Yeah.
And in this episode, Casey Kasem did double duty. He did some other, at least one other voice too.
Yeah, he's definitely Decoder.
Yeah, but
I think he was one of the Secret Four.
He had a long run as well. Norman Alden was Aquaman.
I kind of liked his voice. I didn't remember it, but
He's pretty good. Yeah, I really didn't know that much about him.
it was more. He's more like this kind of.
Yeah,
I'm Aquaman.
Yeah.
Which is not what you'd expect Aquaman. I don't know what I expect him to sound like, but
I think he was one of the more purely voice people. Again, it's a cool voice, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Aquaman.
yeah.
Michael Bell was Zan.
Okay.
Now, I found him interesting. I can't describe his voice, but a lot of times it seems to me like he showed up in every cartoon. He was on the Smurfs for years. There's a couple of them, but that's sort of, he's got sort of a young hotshot quality to his voice.
Right.
And to me, he's one of the most distinctive cartoon voices of our era, I think.
Grouchy Smurf.
Now that he wouldn't have been using the...
And Handy Smurf.
Yeah.
That's probably the one closer to Zan. He was Bruce Banner in the 80s Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, I think he was also, was he Plastic Man or it was on that...
I'm looking and let's see if it actually has a...
But,
okay. It's a lot of live action work too.
Yeah, I'm not that fond of the Zan character, but I guess the one thing I would use to describe the quality of his voice, it's earnest.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely an earnestness there in his work, which I thought was good.
On G.I. Joe, he was like half the characters. Blowtorch, Clutch, Duke, Lift Ticket, Major Blood, Scrap Iron, Toll Booth, and Zammot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those more major than others, but still.
Mr. T, he was additional voices.
Oh, that was one of my favorite characters, additional voices.
Always good. Also in Rambo cartoon, he was additional voices.
Rambo, the force of freedom.
Scooby Goes Hollywood, Jackie Carlson. I don't know who that is. He was a Snork. Speed Buggy, he was someone. He played the Owl on some version of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. He was Dr. Octopus.
Yes, and I think he did the. I think I read that he was the Riddler in one version of the Super Friends too.
Ooh. Maybe the Challenge of the Super Friends had the Riddler, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was on the Challenge or if it was just one like guest shot.
Yeah. He was also Gleek.
Okay. Yeah. So Michael Bell, shout out to you. I cannot remember.
It was Challenge.
Okay.
He's Riddler and young Lex Luthor.
Okay. Lex Luthor, didn't remember that. And now I don't know the name of Jana's voice. I don't believe she stayed in it as long as some of these other ones.
Yeah.
I think she was younger, like she was an actual Jana's voice. I would guess she was the youngest one in the cast.
Liberty Williams.
Yeah, Liberty Williams. How could I forget that distinctive name like Liberty?
She had something to do with Bewitched. There was a pilot about Tabitha, which is the daughter, right?
But not the actual Tabitha show?
Well, it says Tabitha originated as a pilot and starred Liberty Williams in the role. No,
like
I think
an
she
animated
was.
Series?
No. Wait, originated as a pilot? I don't know. We can look into that later.
Well, I think the one that really interests me is Shannon Farnan as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, this is kind of like the Wonder Woman I grew up on, and I kind of like her characterization now. I was reading a couple of interviews with her actually, where she indicated that they never quite knew what to do with the character. Like, she would do it one way, and then the producers would tell her to do it another way. And I think one thing they tried to do at first was she's definitely a more matronly version of the character, I would say.
Yeah.
And that came across, and when she tried to do it more feminine, they would kind of tell her to go the other way and maybe do a little bit deeper voice, because I guess her real speaking voice wasn't as, quite as deep as that. But that was kind of like the guidance she would get. But one thing that was interesting, I mean, she made it sound like there was a real camaraderie, like they actually would shoot this, they'd all be together in the studio, and they'd just sort of be like moving out of each other's way. I think it's cool to think of them doing it like that, Oh, and also let's mention the narrator.
Yeah.
I believe Bill Woodson. Mm-hmm. So Ted Knight kind of started the Super Friends narration, right. And was even before that was did a lot of voice act and voiceover work, and came up with sort of that sort of pompous, right. Sound. But I guess so when they brought Woodson in to be the narrator, they wanted him to do that sort of thing, and he's sort of modeled himself after Ted Knight. And what a great sequence it is. I mean, he's good in the narration, but that the opening sequence of this is awesome.
Yes. With
the music, it kind of builds up, to the
shot that pans by all the heroes standing in a line.
Yeah, and they all look, pretty serious. They look really cool.
Yeah.
And the dialogue is cool, the narration's cool. So great narration by him.
Yeah. I want to go back to Wonder Woman briefly,
because
I believe on the Wonder Woman, our episode where we talked about Wonder Woman, I said something about not caring for this version. I liked a little more watching it now, but I think the matronly part maybe made her seem not as cool. And probably things like the the safety lessons and being told what to do by her. Plus her voice is kind of almost sounds like like a smoker or something.
Yeah.
Which is not bad, but it's just because a lot of voiceover actors have that. And
right.
In fact, when Danny Dark was lecturing us on not smoking, I wondered. I don't know if he smoked, but it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. If you smoke, you'll be a loser or a voiceover actor.
Yeah,
but
the Linda Carter was a little warmer.
Yeah, but I kind of liked her more. Like, well, watching it and kind of like the way they animated her was interesting. And they definitely were trying to make her like give her feminine in quotes poses and things. And
yeah, I mean, I think it might be a little reductive to say this, but Linda Carter was more like a crush, but this Wonder Woman was more like a mom.
Yeah,
I mean, like you say, with the safety tips and just her general.
I think that's in like those special features on the disc. People keep talking about how like they were all like all the male characters were just like dads.
Yeah.
And like instead of a hero, it's dad coming to the rescue or something.
Right.
Which is okay, and certainly Superman went through phases in the comics of being a dad sort of type person. But that might be why she wasn't entirely appealing.
To you.
To me.
I
had a mom, and I liked my mom fine. I didn't need a TV
you didn't
mom.
need a replacement. Yeah.
No.
Well, I understand that. Well, sadly, they replaced her under kind of mysterious circumstances. They one of the later iterations of Super Friends, they gave her the boot, which is kind of sad. I think she probably is the voice of Wonder Woman for a lot of people that grew up in this time period. But overall, though, it's a great cast.
Yeah.
And, in a show with somewhat limited animation, it's always important to have a good, solid set of voices. And, yeah, these voices definitely got the authority part across, I would say.
Yeah. And speaking of the animation, I mean, that's limited by those character designs are really just like a great distillation of those characters.
Yeah, I think that it's iconic would be a fair word to use to describe them. Yeah, I mean, I think the look of it, I mean, Super Friends, yeah, like I say, don't compare it to Justice League Unlimited, but I loved it as a kid, and I still enjoy. I'm trying to get my son interested in Super Friends, and yeah, why not? I mean, these ones are they're tame, and maybe a little frustrating if you're looking for a little bit more action, but for what they are, I think they do the job.
Well, maybe if you watch this with your kids, you can try to do the crafts.
Yeah, make it a real interactive experience.
Which I guess some of the idea there is like here's something you can do while the commercials are on.
Yeah,
which won't happen on the DVD, but you can pause it.
Idea. Well, it'd be a lot better than getting them to try to smoke so that I can tell them that it's bad for them.
Yes.
So I don't think I'll reenact the safety tips. Maybe
no,
I'd be better reenact the crafts.
I think they can just watch the safety tips and you can say, don't smoke.
Right. I'm not sure how well. Well, I know I've seen a little bit of this with them. I can't remember how the Decoder segments went, and they're pretty forgettable.
Yeah.
I think they might even roll their eyes at the medallion.
Yeah. Do you think we should maybe start adding a Decoder segment to our episodes?
It might be worth a shot. We wouldn't have the advantage of those cool visual clues, like a kid with his own name on his shirt.
Right.
We'd have to be a little bit more creative, I guess.
Yeah. We'll work on that. Maybe season 4.
Yeah, it'd be hard for people to guess visually what the clue is.
Yeah.
In a podcast.
Audio-wise, it's something they could listen for.
Yeah.
Maybe we could,
embed some clues.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should. To me, I like the Challenge of the Super Friends episodes. They're great. But I also love the safety and health tips. And one of the reasons I was excited to get this DVD was because I knew it was the one that had the safety and the health tips. I love those. Yeah. So to me, if you combine the more grown-up stories of the Challenge of the Super Friends with the more juvenile safety and health tips, you'd have like the perfect Super Friends for me.
Okay.
And I really don't remember the Galactic Guardians era, the Superpowers cartoon. I love those superheroes, but I don't remember watching them. I don't know if it was at the time I was not watching them or what.
Like I said, that was when it was getting preempted some, and the season before that, they introduced Firestorm, and I think, basically sidelined the Wonder Twins in favor of him. And I definitely remember that. And they had the whole thing where he's having Dr. Stein's head was floating in around.
And I think Dr. Stein was voiced by Olan Soule, I think, which, they kind of brought him.
And then the last season, in the Firestorm season, they started introducing like Darkseid and, some of those characters too. And then the last season was really focused on a lot of that stuff, but it also like the animation style changed.
Yeah.
And at the time I thought, this is way better. Like it was in keeping with more a little like G.I. Joe and Transformers and some of what was going on there, but I didn't see a lot of them. And I haven't. I think maybe once I saw one like on Boomerang or something.
Okay, because I was going to say I don't remember those being rerun very often.
No, I don't
like
think
the other
so.
ones, like versions of those, being on all the time in the 80s and early 90s even. But these ones, those later ones, I don't remember them showing up too often.
Yeah, and I don't know. The Firestorm ones probably don't much either.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the line, I guess the Rima character went away, and those extras they talk about her, like that's just like a whole weird thing that DC tried, like she's some character from like pulp novels or something.
Rima
DC tried to use her as like an ecology thing, and then she just sort of vanished again.
it's odd how some of these characters come and go.
Yeah, but they also had a El Dorado in the later seasons. And I don't remember what his powers were, but he looked kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't either. I remember the look of him, but
yeah,
I don't remember much about that character at all.
And I feel like maybe like Green Lantern and Flash were promoted maybe to regular cast members.
Yeah. But this is kind of like the more classic era of the Super Friends. So if you get like a Super Friends T-shirt, it would pretty much have the core 5, I guess.
Yeah.
5? Yeah. And that's the way it is. That's fine by me, but I still like Super Friends.
Yeah.
They're cool, they're friends.
Right, they're super.
It's good that they're together, and it combined, a lot of the DC universe, so for me that was a real kick.
I definitely enjoyed watching this, even if I maybe got foggy on some of the details.
Well...
Just going by so quickly.
They made these things very quickly. They packed a lot into an hour.
They did.
I'll say that. I mean, there's 4 segments, safety, health, Decoder segments.
Yeah.
And all that stuff going on. Different heroes, different actions, different villains. So probably a little something for everybody in every episode, I guess. Maybe that's what they were hoping.
Yeah. Super Friends.
This episode brought to you by The Secret 4. Looking out for the world's energy needs by looking out for our energy needs. This episode also brought to you by the local zoo. Now treating animals and teenagers with the respect they deserve. This episode also brought to you by Bat Belt Industries, a subsidiary of Wayne Enterprises, providing bat accessories since 1966. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/battleofthenetworkshows.
Uh-oh, young Tommy is smoking a cigarette, creating his own smog cloud. Tommy's up to bat. Tommy smokes because he thinks it makes him look grown up. But watch what smoking does for him. That coughing is one thing. It keeps him from playing his best. You're out! Don't smoke. It doesn't make you grown up. It makes you a loser.